And one basic format that you can consider for your digital story, when you first put that story together, you want to put your clips in order of the storyboard. And you'll find that you might have to match your images to your audio track. So you might have to make a clip longer. You might have to make a clip shorter. The different software, and we neglected to mention Movie Maker. Sorry for the Windows users. That's another free software that you can use to edit video on a Windows machine. You want to put those clips in order. You want to match those images to your audio track. And honestly, that can take the longest bit of editing, just making sure that you're matching your images to your voiceover. And a basic story format, you want to have opening credits. You want to introduce the piece to your audience. Then you'll put your clips and footage. So if the opening credits are like one side of the sandwich, the top part of the bread, clips and the footage are all of the condiments, all of the meat, tofu, whatever, just the flavor of the sandwich. And then you want to include the closing credits. You want to acknowledge the roles and the resources. So if you had a director, if you had a writer, or if you use certain video clips, audio clips, or images from another resource, you can include that. And then close with your copyright because you should be proud of your work. In between, you can sprinkle transitions because transitions allow you to move from one part of your story to another. It's just smoother on the eye and the audience gets it versus a jump cut. And depending on your editing style, that might be appropriate.
Right, and one thing I'd like to add when it comes to implementing the transitions into your piece is this is your time to be really creative with this in addition to integrating music into it. If you want a very smooth, mellow tone to a certain part of your story, then you might use a dissolve transition. If you're starting to really want to evoke excitement in the piece, then you might use something a little bit more kind of, I guess, staccato is the term. You don't want it jumpy and you don't want it jarbled. You want everything to be smooth. But there are different transitions that will enhance the tone of your piece and really start to evoke the kind of emotion that you want to have in your viewers.
And really play with those transitions and really play with music as well. You'll find that if you have a story, you can change the way it feels by putting a different sound effects or different music with your story. Play around with maybe starting your piece with one piece of music to evoke an emotion. And then at the end of the piece, you may have a resolution. You may have a different feeling. You may want to engage your audience and say, now I want to do something. Inspire them with a different piece of music. All of those nonverbal cues really add effect and emotion to your piece. Just to review some free resources where you can get sound effects and music, the Free Sound Project is a website where you can download and get free music for your projects as well as sound effects. I really like the Flash Kit website for really cool, funky sound loops that are short and sweet. So if you don't need a 5-minute song, maybe you find a 30-second piece here. And again, just to remind you of the Creative Commons search engine because that also has audio sound effects that you can find. So Melissa,
Creative
now
Commons
that we've
done to be your best friend.
Exactly. So we've put all of our pieces together. We've watched it several times. What should we troubleshoot for, Melissa, just in case? What should we watch for to make sure that our piece is actually what we want to produce?
Okay. Right, very great question. You really want to make sure everything is spelled correctly. When you title your interview subjects, when you title the name of a foundation, when you give people credit in the opening credits as well as the closing credits, make sure everything is spelled correctly. I know it sounds like common sense, but there are so many errors that occur in national news, local news, and in videos that you see on YouTube. Just really, really make sure that it's polished and professional as looking. And on kind of a technical note, you want to make sure that you don't have any jump cuts in the video. Erica touched on jump cut really briefly. A jump cut is something that you see maybe when you're watching a local news broadcast and you're watching somebody talk, and then all of a sudden, instead of a nice smooth transition into a different shot, it jumps and there's kind of a break in the screen. If that's there, you want to re-edit it. Definitely re-edit it because it just looks unprofessional, and you're using this to draw on potential funders. So you want to be as polished and professional as possible.
Once you're done with your piece, then you're going to export it. And again, we're using iMovie as an example of the screenshots, but any of your editing software with Flip Video Cam, with Movie Maker, Vimeo, or any of your editing software will have an opportunity, will give you an option to export your piece. You want to make sure that you name your project in a way that makes sense. I highly suggest including the date of the project in case you're doing a series over time, and give it a meaningful name. You want to select a location to save it that you'll remember. So you may have an archive for your digital media, maybe that exists on a server. But you definitely don't want to name something like Project 1, Project 2, that gets lost. And choose a format and size. A lot of our interfaces already include different formats and size. So you don't have to know pixel size. You can be like, oh, well, I'm doing this for a DVD for my funders. Or, oh, I'm doing this for YouTube. So you should be able to choose from the interface. And then you'll export and save. Once you export, it'll take a couple of minutes. You should pat yourself on the back on a job well done. And then I highly recommend that you save that duplicate, that you save a duplicate copy of that file onto another computer, onto another server, onto a flash drive. Computers always know when a deadline is coming, and tech happens. Make sure that you have a backup. Different formats that you can export to include Windows Media video files, AVIs, .movs, .m4vs, MP4s, and MPEG. So just to let you know, those are the file extensions that you will see on your video projects. Another one might be a .dv. And if you're looking for other resources to help polish your piece, and once you got over your Digital Storytelling 101, Vimeo offers a really great video school online, and it's free. Current TV also has a production knowledge base. So they take you through all of the steps between pre-production, post-production, production, and marketing. Melissa, we've already created our beautiful piece, and we want to show it to the world. What's the next thing that we should do?
So now that your piece is done, now that you've shown it to a few other sets of eyes to look over, you definitely want to promote it as much as possible. Social media is your best friend. I live on social media. That is the way that I've been able to build my brand as a cause correspondent. So what you want to do first is distribute. You can use YouTube or Vimeo. I like to use both. I think it's good to have your content on as many platforms as possible. If you're uploading to YouTube or Vimeo, both platforms accept the MP4 file and MOV. And once you've uploaded the video, you'll see a button there that says upload. It's going to take a few minutes, and especially if you're choosing to upload the video in HD quality, which I recommend, it might take up to an hour, but just be patient, it will upload. After it's there, definitely make sure that your title is there with the keywords, and you'll write a short summary underneath about what your project is about. From there, this is when it's important to optimize your search engine. Now, what I mean by that is use keywords and tags. So what you're going to do is you're going to see an option that says tags underneath the title. You'll list any pronouns. I'm sorry, not any proper nouns. Your name, the name of the nonprofit or organization that you're representing in the piece, names of people that you're interviewing, names of foundations. It's good to name drop. I highly recommend it. So any important name that you think would be popular when somebody's doing a Google search, optimize that, put it in your keywords or tags, and that will help spread the word. Once your video is there, you've optimized your search engine, start promoting it all over Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, MySpace if you still use it. You can send out, I still believe in sending out emails to your friends and family to help spread the word. And from there, use catchy headlines to promote it. Anything that short and sweet, concise, something that's really going to catch somebody's eyes.
And from there, Oh, go ahead. I want to offer,
Yeah,
if
no,
you
go
have
ahead.
a more analog institution, a lot of the public schools that I work with don't have internet access or it's spotty. So I always have a showing and a celebration at the end of the work. So you should gather a bunch of your friends, supporters, funders, volunteers, participants, and have a showing of this piece. You should get a response to your work. You should see how the audience connects with it and really, really celebrate it. So if you got a projector, speakers, get some snacks. It's really an amazing thing to be working on this video project or this digital story for hours by yourself in front of a computer editing it. But it's a whole other experience to experience it in a room with people and to see how they respond to your piece. Because once they start talking about it, then other people will talk about it, and that will go viral that way. Let's recapture the process, Melissa.
Okay, so you've written your script, you've worked backwards, you've gotten your footage, your interviews, your still images, and now you get to go over to the voiceover side. You'll get your voiceover from your script. You edit, you turn the water into wine, sound effects, background music. This is really, in addition to content given to you by your interview subjects, this to me is one of the most important parts of the process because this is what's going to drive the emotion. And for nonprofits or social benefit organizations, the most important thing is to move people, touch them in some way, to get them to support your cause and to get them to fund it and to get them to rally and volunteer for you. So, music, the universal language of love, Erica really stressed music, sound effects, that's really what's going to drive the emotion. Post-production, video from your device into your computer, editing, uploading, then you export to an MP4 file or MOV. Those are the two files that Eric and I like to use the most for Vimeo and for YouTube, but there are other files formats that you can use as well. And from there, showcase, celebrate. Definitely showcase to applaud yourself and also to get some critiques. Once you see it on a larger screen and once you see the reaction to an audience, you might want to go back and change some things or make some additions, maybe even go out and get another interview to add to it and create an entire series based on your one video that you just made. And from there, distributing, promoting. Make this fun. Make it a contest. See how many people you can get to retweet your amazing video that you just made. See how many people just clicked on your video. You can track how many people have gone to your site by looking at the analytics in your site if you're doing it from WordPress. You can also do that with Tumblr. So, have fun with this part. Some people tend to say because it's time consuming, then it really is, it really does have a powerful impact.
Melissa, if you'll go ahead and forward the next slide for me because I'm getting the digital wheel of death. But we wanted to show you some examples of what you can do. Thank you. And so there are two examples. At the top would you explain the piece at the top, Melissa?
Yeah, so the top piece I mentioned earlier, this is a piece that is all about the meaning of activism. Fierce Light Films produced this, and what they did is just edited a series of sound bites back to back with different activists talking about what activism means to them. There's no voiceover. It's just people talking for a few seconds about what activism, the definition of activism today. And sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you just need people saying something, a series of powerful messages.
And then the piece on the bottom was actually created by 7th graders that I worked with a few years ago. And they did a stop-motion animation. So they used just simple images, and it's basically the story of a Good Samaritan. And there's no voiceover at all. They just used a piece of music and they illustrated their story. So you can go from elaborate using video camera, or they used a whiteboard with a black marker and just created the stills and pulled them together. So you can play around with the format that makes sense to that make sense to create your story.